Welcome to the first episode of the Black One podcast. I'm so glad that we've got this one off on the road. Finally, we're here. This is the place where we talk about all your favorite Black movies, TV series, and the celebrities within them. This is DJ Marx. Welcome to everyone now listening. And if you haven't already, remember to hit that follow or subscribe button on iTunes or Spotify. And also do the same on Instagram and YouTube. Just search Black Ones Podcast or Black Ones Pod, and you'll get all the latest updates about Black Ones. So today I'm joined by my guest Karlene, and we're going to be getting into it about the 2021 movie Coming to America 2.
You must heed my words before I'm gone, my son. Now, you will be king. But the throne must pass to a male heir. Hakim, it appears you have a son. He must be found.
Prepare the royal jet. We are going back to America.
Oh, hell no, Your Majesty.
Like I was saying, guys, I'm joined by Karlene. How you doing, Karlene?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, man. But let's get this in about the Coming to America movie that dropped this year.
Okay.
Break down these points and let's see how we go. As we're discussing about it. So, you know, let's get into the whole casting of it first, because one of the things I have to say is when I watched the movie, I really like the fact that they kept the original casting from the very first one. You know, these kind of movies, they you know, when they're doing the sequels, they like try to get rid of some of the main people or replace them with like someone else or whatever it is. But I was actually quite glad that they kept the original casting. What did you think about that?
I thought that was great. I thought it was great. Not only did they keep the original cast, but they brought back some of the old ones as well. Like the girl who just stood up there and was barking like a dog.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. I thought that was great.
I mean, when I watched it, one of the things that I really thought to myself is that even though everybody has clearly got older, because I mean, Eddie Murphy, when he did that film, was like a young spring chicken, if you want to look at it like that. But, you know, I mean, it does highlight it, though. The film was done like 30 years ago.
Yes, 30 years ago, yeah.
So it's like 1988. So it was a proper long time ago. And I think sometimes because we still probably watch that kind of movie now, you don't actually realize just how long ago they really made it.
Yeah, it's definitely an old film. And I think it's good. I didn't have much complaints about it, if I'm honest. Yeah,
I mean, the film was a very popular one, to tell the truth, in terms of the original one anyway, because I want to kind of compare the two a little bit as well. Some people don't really realize just how much of an impact the original movie was actually, because I mean, in America especially, you know, it was a huge thing. I mean, like I said, it was 30 years ago, but it had such an impact that there were actually restaurants in America that on Halloween, they were actually doing up, you know, changing their whole restaurant to look like McDowell's from Coming to America. So
wow.
So people really like into the whole Coming to America vibe and like getting into it and really supporting it. And don't forget, we're talking about 1988, so I guess that the biggest support would have really come from the Black community in those times, because America wouldn't have been the kind of America we see now in terms of the Black support of a lot of these kind of things. But yeah, I mean, did you get a chance to watch the original movie, and like what did you think when you compared the original one to the one now?
I think that when it comes to probably all films, I think number one is always better than number two.
Yeah, I'm the same.
I think that about pretty much all films. And I feel like they didn't have to make a number two because it was so much years later. But the fact that they did, I think they did okay.
Yeah, I think so. I think they did okay. I mean, I have to say, I had my doubts because, like you said, you know, usually when you see the whole sequels thing, the first one is usually better. And especially when you're talking about something that was 30 years ago, it's different. Like, for example, if you was watching like your kind of like Terminator movies where they'll drop one Terminator, drop another one a couple later, later. But there's a 30-year gap. And to the point that the original Come to America was almost like iconic. So when they did number two, you're kind of thinking to yourself, what are they going to do with this? I mean, do you really want them to touch it? Should they really go there? But yeah, they did a decent job, I think.
I think they did all right. I think the storyline was slightly far-fetched. I think they could have kept. I think they could have kept the same kind of theme as part one, whereas he's had his children. They're older now, and they decide that I want to fall in love the same way like he did, and then they go back and they find their own way.
Yeah.
Instead of what they did with it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think it would have been nice to do like a normal continuation, maybe even show like their journey as a couple through from the first one to this one. But I think part of the thing where I thought it was a bit far-fetched was the fact that in some ways they kind of repeated the same story from the first one, because obviously the first one, Eddie is leaving, or I should say Prince Akeem, let's call him by his actual character name. Prince Akeem leaves Zamunda and goes to America to find his queen, and in a strange way, even though Lavelle doesn't leave Zamunda and go to America to find his queen, but he is that same kind of journey where he's been forced to marry someone, and he has to kind of go and find some love for his own self.
And that's basically what it's all about, is getting this husband or getting this wife. And I feel like it didn't have to be like olden days.
Yeah.
Whereas you have to find a wife or you have to find a husband. They could have made it so it was almost like his kids are now grown up and it just happens.
Yeah. I think
Not that it has to happen. You have to have a wife now. You have to have a husband now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely get that. But in terms of the casting, like we were saying, and the whole plot, I'm really liking the fact that they did the like I said, the original casting, and then they brought in people that I actually wanted to see as new members.
I think the cast was great. I think the cast was great.
Yeah, I thought so as well. And you know what? I want to highlight this point as well, because not many people really know this, is that Wesley Snipes, obviously in this one, he played General Izzy. But he actually auditioned for the first Coming to America 30 years ago. And
really?
He auditioned for the first one, but he didn't actually get it. He was in his early 30s at the time, I believe it was. Maybe early 20s, in fact, because we're talking about, he's 51 now and it was 30 years ago. So he would have been in the early 20s, but he auditioned for the first Coming to America. So not many people know that one.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's one of the things. And then the other thing that I'm not sure, well, some people might have picked it up from the credits, but Eddie Murphy's daughter played his daughter in the film.
Really? I didn't know that. Yeah.
So literally, not the main one, because obviously the darker one was the one that kind of had more screen time. The second oldest daughter, Omar, she's actually Eddie Murphy's real daughter, Bella Murphy. So,
okay. That's nice.
Yeah, it was nice. I thought it was a nice touch by Eddie, that's giving her a little introduction. But she didn't really have much lines, to tell the truth. But I thought, first time seeing her on screen, she might have been in other stuff. I haven't really checked that, but it was a nice touch. I thought, just giving her a little to come in there and do that. Yeah. So
I really like the cast. I like the cast. I like who they brought in. Wesley Snipes, I thought was a touch, a good one.
Yeah,
I mean, when he came into it, I just thought, where you been? I missed you.
Yeah.
It's like, where's he been? I haven't seen him for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about Wesley, is because I think he was one of those characters, one of those actors that we all kind of, as like people watching in, we're kind of used to seeing Wesley over the years in your Demolition Man, in your Blades, and all them kind of movies and stuff like that. But because obviously he had that period where he was in jail, I think for like 2.5 years or 3 years, something like that. Yeah. So I suppose in a way
he went quiet.
He went quiet a little bit. But he obviously was working behind the scenes, because even during the time he was in jail, as soon as he came out, there was like movies and TV series dropping. So he was obviously being contacted while he was behind bars with scripts and stuff like that. But yeah, same thing. I was kind of like glad to see it was him that they pulled in for that particular role. And yeah, he has done some other stuff like since he came out, in terms of he did in the what they called Expendables with Sylvester Stallone. He was one of the guys in there, and he's done some other like little TV series and stuff. But yeah, it was a good look to see him in there, man.
Yeah, I thought it was definitely. I think it was nice. It was nice. I missed him. That's how I felt.
100%. And you know what? Let's just to carry on and obviously talking about how they've done the film. I really liked a lot of the costumes that they had in there. Actually, I thought they were pretty good, and they worked well in terms of the kind of message they were getting across. What do you think of them?
I think, I think Teyana Taylor, who played Wesley's daughter, I think she was just hot.
Yeah.
She just looked good for all of it, and And even the dancing
Yeah.
was like very seductive.
Yeah.
It was
yeah.
quite hot, but I also like the fact that it wasn't the obvious choice because she did look good and she was like on point and everything, but she wasn't the obvious choice for the guy.
Yeah.
I like that as well.
And like I said, the costumes that they use for these characters like was really good. But you know what? Another point as well in regards to the costumes. I mean, the costume designer on the show was actually a lady called Ruth Carter, and she's worked with Eddie before. I don't know if you've seen Eddie's Dolomite movie that he did.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, so she was the costume
designer.
designer.
was in there as well.
Yeah, so she was the costume designer behind that, and she also won an Oscar for her costume design on Black Panther. So she's obviously like a very good person of choice when it comes to designing and putting the people in the right look for the kind of movie that they're in. So she's doing well for herself, and yeah, I think Eddie did a good selection there as well. But I read online that we know that Eddie Murphy played like 4 or 5 different characters, obviously himself, and then the guys in the barbershop, etc. Yeah. But I read online that every time he changes his characters, it takes about 4 to 6 hours for makeup and styling just to change to that one character. So you can imagine the amount of time they must have spent just going between him and all those other guys in the barbershop. In that scene alone, that we're talking about like weeks probably of recording.
Yeah, and the barbershop, I think isn't all of them him.
I think there's one of them I think is a guy by himself actually, because I'm looking at him, I'm thinking he doesn't look like Eddie Murphy. So I think there's probably about 3 or 4 of the guys in the barbershop, which is him. And then there's a random old guy, which they kind of like slotted in.
Pastor man as well, the guy who's preaching. Is that him as well?
The pastor, which one? Oh, you're talking about the strange one that marries them. You're talking about that guy?
Yes.
Yeah, you know what? That I believe that one is that's not Eddie Murphy. That's Arsenio Hall. You're talking about Reverend Brown, the guy with the weird hair, and he's like got the That's Arsenio, yeah. But you know what? I'll mention this on this topic actually, because what people also don't know about that role that Arsenio played, because he played it in the first one as well as the second one, is that actually in real life his dad was a reverend and his uncle was a reverend, and apparently that the character that he plays, Reverend Brown, was based on a reverend that his dad knew that acted exactly the same like that in real life.
Wow.
So yeah, that's actually crazy to think of. I would like to know.
Reacted somebody that he knows.
Yeah, so literally reacted to somebody he knows. And I would like to know if this guy is actually or was a pastor of an actual church. Because if he's based on a real life character, then that is just absolutely crazy. Because he's just like completely
I always just think that everyone's Eddie.
You get used to it though, because over the years he's played so many different roles where he's like played 3-4 characters. So
in one film, he likes to do that.
Yeah, I mean he's talented enough because he's gone online many times saying when he was younger he used to use a ventriloquist dummy to practice his characters. So obviously like from the time he was a child, he's one of those things, he was kind of like grafted after he wanted to get into that thing of playing multiple characters. So obviously now he's got his money, he's got the ability to kind of produce and all that kind of stuff. He's taken that on and decided, you know what, I'm going to play a load of characters. I suppose it saves him money as well. You don't have to hire people to come in and spend the money on them. So it's a really good one actually. So location wise, what did you think of the location? The scenes, how everything looked and stuff like that.
I feel it was good. I mean, that's how I would as a kingdom. Yeah. I suppose it wasn't supposed to be set like Africa, as in how people would presume Africa to look like. It was supposed to be a kingdom, so it looked like a kingdom, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. But you know what I didn't know, which I found out actually while I was preparing for this podcast, is that the place that they used as the castle for the royal family, and even like the land where we saw, for example, like the lion and the elephants and all that going about, that all was what's it called? Or most of it was Rick Ross's house. Really?
Because Rick Ross was in that movie, weren't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, a very small part though, but he was there.
the castle is actually his actual house.
Oh my gosh, I would
crazy,
never have
isn't
guessed
it?
that. I would never have guessed that.
I would never have guessed that because the way they did out the place, obviously with design and stuff like that, it looks really like it could be like a royal place or a castle
A
somewhere.
proper royal place, yeah. That's what
But yes, it was actually Rick Ross's house, and like I said, even the land that was looking green and stuff because apparently it's on like hundreds of acres of land that he owns. So like that, literally most of it was shot on Rick Ross's house in his land, and other than that, some of the scenes were done in Tyler Perry studios. So
okay.
I thought that was quite interesting. I'm thinking, so if that is Rick Ross's house and his land, this guy, I mean, I know he's rich already because the guy's been doing this thing for a minute, but come on, that is some ridiculous land,
And
ridiculous house, man.
Even to think, he said, use my house and I'll just be in it for like 1 minute.
Yeah.
He could have had more of a role then.
Yeah.
He could have been in the film more.
Yeah, definitely. Put his demands there and like get his little thing in there. You know what? Let's go on to like probably my favorite part of the movie. I mean, to tell you, it's one of those movies that, other than the fact of having to do this podcast so I had to go and watch it again, I don't think it's one of those that I would go back and watch again after I've seen it twice now. I would have done for the first one. I think I kind of like.
I think we've all seen the first one loads of times.
Yeah. And even though they did an okay job with this one, I don't think obviously it still doesn't, for me, it doesn't meet up to the first one still. So I wouldn't see it many times again. But yeah, like I said, the first 15 minutes was my favorite part in it. I'll say at the 15-minute part, because that was when the king said that he wanted to have his funeral before he died.
My favorite scene, the funeral.
Yeah, I mean, that's your favorite scene. Talk us through that, what you loved about it and all that kind of stuff.
I love the idea of it, first of all.
Yeah.
You want to see your own funeral. I loved the cast who came into it. I thought En Vogue was like a great choice.
Mm-hmm.
En Vogue, Salt and Pepper, that as well as my tune.
Yeah.
Although they made it like a king.
Yeah.
I love that. And even Gladys Knight in there.
I mean, Gladys Knight. Oh my days! You know what?
That was a great look.
Yeah, I had to come in on that Gladys Knight one because one of the things that I will say, is that I love my music, R&B, old jams, and all that kind of stuff. But listening to Gladys Knight sing there, right, and her voice sounded just as good as it used to years ago. That's the sign for me of a really talented singer. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, the other girls are good as well, but Gladys, come on. I mean, that's just like.
Gladys came on and just shut down the show, didn't she?
That's a mic drop right there, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was like really,
that's why
really
he died.
it's like, Gladys has done my part now, I can go now.
Yeah. I thought that was really good. I like that, actually. And they even had Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, as the master of ceremony. Yeah. That was good.
I like that whole scene.
Yeah. And what I really liked as well is that they didn't have these guys coming in to kind of like take on the roles of other people in similar things. So they didn't have Morgan Freeman coming in as an actor that was with a different name, or the singers coming in as different singers as part of the African culture, but they kept them as they are. So Morgan Freeman played Morgan Freeman. Salt and Pepper played Salt and Pepper. You know, I thought that was really good. That was definitely my favorite part. I think everybody watching that must have sat home and thought, "What? This looks amazing."
That was my favorite part. Honestly, that was my favorite part of the film. Yeah.
Yeah, I really did definitely like that, and I think it would have been even at the end. I mean, we're jumping to the end, but I'll come back to it anyway. But even having Davido at the end, at the party section where they're doing the wedding and stuff, I thought that was a good touch too. Actually getting proper like black singers in. I
thought that was a great touch because I love him, I must say.
Yeah. I'm literally exactly the same. So
yeah.
And you know what? Even going back to what we were saying before regarding the whole the look of the characters. One of the other points I came across was they said that, I mean, obviously we looked at them, they did this whole thing where they were trying to make everybody look glamorous and stuff like that. But apparently, even some of the wigs that some of the actors and actresses were wearing, so much detail went into it that it took up to 3 weeks to construct some of the wigs.
Oh my gosh.
I've never heard of a wig taking that long. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean,
no, I've never had that.
I've always teased over the years about how long it takes for like women to get their hair done in the hairdressers and that kind of stuff. But the hair 3 weeks on a wig, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, that sounds ridiculous. It does sound ridiculous, but they did look good.
Yeah.
Everybody did look good.
They did look good. They looked very, very sharp. I must say. And you know what? Even though saying that, one thing I want to ask you, because I know what my opinion is on it, but I kind of felt like in certain parts of the film I was getting a kind of Black Panther vibe. Would you like concur with that?
Yes, I do see. I know what you mean by that, and I think, and for me, it was the daughters when they were practicing how to fight.
At the beginning, yeah.
Yeah, I felt like it reminded me of the women in Black Panther.
Yeah, I thought so.
That's what. Yeah, it was that.
And even some of the dance routines, like I thought they seemed very similar to, like, you know, when they're about to crown the king in Black Panther at the very beginning, and they've got everyone dancing on the boats leading up to the game and stuff like that. I felt like some of the movements were very similar, and what really pinned it for me with the whole you guys went down a Black Panther vibe was two things. That one, there's the scene where Eddie Murphy, I keep saying Eddie Murphy. Oh, you guys will know who I'm talking about. But Prince Akeem goes into his son's house in Queens and sees the mother for the first time after 30 years, and the uncle's in there, and like Eddie Murphy's trying to, like, obviously, you know, explain who he is, and you know, Uncle Reem comes in and be like, I don't care if you're from Zamunda or from Wakanda. I thought, yep. You now you're giving it away that you guys are taking some of the Black Panther thing. You know what I'm saying? So that was a dead giveaway for me. And also that I heard the rumor that apparently Eddie Murphy wasn't interested in doing Come to America 2 until he saw the success of Black Panther, which I kind of I feel I can believe that, especially due to the fact that
it's 30 years later. Yeah.
I mean, we've seen other films take a long time. You know, when you look at films like, for example, The Best Man, how long it took between the sequels.
Yeah.
But 30 years is a long time. I mean, after you hit about 15 years, most people will think that you're just going to leave it. And then out of the blue, suddenly we get a Coming to America 2. So when I heard that rumor, I was inclined to believe it, because I thought, there's no reason for you. And as well, because it took 3 years to put the script together. So if you take away those 3 years based on and look at where Black Panther was released and all that kind of stuff, it kind of fits in terms of believing that, you know what, you guys were on this thing of like following what Black Panther's doing just because you saw the success. But you know, let's leave that, because we could talk about that part of things for a long time.
Even so, it's not the same kind of movie anyway. Yes, they might have been copying, but it was a comedy.
Yeah, and I think that's why he could get away with it, because we know that it's supposed to be a comedy, and you kind of take it very light-hearted and stuff like that. But it's interesting, obviously.
And a lot of people do that anyway. Look at the Wayans. Yeah, they like to make laugh. They do it over all films. Yeah, they just laugh at every movie, innit, and make it jokes. So I see it as that, really. If anything.
You know what? One thing that I want to mention as well is, in video games, there's this thing that we call Easter eggs. And what that is usually the designers of the game, they'll drop like a hidden item in the game where like only the real gamers will kind of find it. And it's usually something linked to the past. So maybe, for example, if they release a sequel to a video game, the designer, when he does that sequel, he'll drop this hidden Easter egg in the game that only people which are true fans of the original game will know about that particular thing. And I feel that Eddie Murphy did something similar in this movie, because there's that scene where Lavelle has gone for a job interview at the very beginning, and he's talking to that white guy called Mr. Duke.
Okay.
And Mr. Duke says to him, "Oh, that picture," you know, Lavelle says to Mr. Duke, "Oh, Mr. Duke," or something like that, and he goes, "Oh, I'm not Mr. Duke. That's the name of my grandfather and my dad." And then he shows him a poster on the wall of these two guys. Now, real Eddie Murphy fans will know that those two guys, Randolph and Mortimer Duke, they actually appeared in the first Coming to America very quickly, but also in Trading Places as the same characters in all three films.
Wow.
You know, those of you that have seen Trading Places will know exactly what I'm talking about as well. The Dukes, Mortimer and Randolph. But literally, those are like, you know, like, for example, I think Adam Sandler does something very similar where he has the same guys in most of his films. Yeah. And Randolph and Mortimer Duke were basically similar kind of guys in some of Eddie Murphy's films, literally dropped in at random places. I mean, fair enough, Trading Places they were more of a leading role in that alongside Eddie Murphy as well. But I thought that was quite an interesting drop, kind of like Eddie Murphy was paying a respect to these guys, that as he was coming up when he was younger, gave him a look in and
Respect
stuff.
to
So,
you guys, yeah.
So it was for me, it was like a little movie Easter egg hidden in there for those that kind of like are fans and have known
Big
some of
fans
these
who will know.
Yeah. And on that same scene, I want to get your take on this, because I felt like on that same scene where he's in the interview, I felt like Eddie was kind of very slyly addressing some of the racial biases that we see in terms of the whole black and white thing, and especially when it comes to like black men trying to get jobs and being in certain positions, because there's a point where the guy is trying to explain to Mr. Duke that all he needs is an opportunity and stuff like that. Even though no matter where he's come from, he was going to be a hard worker. And the guy was trying to say, did you find it hard because your mum was on drugs? Your dad wasn't around and all that kind of stuff. I know it was comedy and it was very light-hearted.
It was comedy and it was light-hearted. But
I felt like he was addressing those kind of biases in a very sly way.
It was trying to address it as in, this is what they think of us. They assume of us. But the way he flipped it, flipped it on him. He flipped it on him as to say, well, you are only here because your dad helped you along the way. And because your dad, he helped you out of that drug situation that you was in, because he was able to speak to them on your behalf and help you out of that. So they flipped it. Yeah, I thought that was quite a little interesting scene there, actually, that he put in there. So I mean, to tell the truth, I don't want to go into it too much, because I think obviously because it's a light-hearted film, I want to keep it light-hearted. But I just thought it was interesting that he kind of very slightly touched on the other. But you know what? As a woman, I want to get your take on this next scene. So when Lavelle and his mum first get to Zamunda, Lavelle's mum runs up to the Queen, hugs her and says, "Hey, Queenie, so sorry I slept with your man." And I was cracking up. I was thinking the cheek of it. But as a woman, did you see any like real life situation in that? And what did you think of it? I thought it was what it was, jokes.
Yeah.
Because I think in reality, a woman wouldn't run up to nobody and say, "Sorry, I slept with your man," in such a way. It wouldn't happen like that,
And the Queen wouldn't be acting the way that she did. No,
she wouldn't have reacted in that way. But at the same time, I feel like he doesn't even remember it anyway.
Yeah.
He doesn't even remember that he slept with her. So he was out of it.
Yeah.
To even have slept with her. He doesn't. So
he didn't know about it till 30 years later.
He don't even know about it. I don't even think the Queen even cared. I think the Queen thinks whatever.
Yeah.
I've been here for all these years with him. I've raised his kids with him. Who are you? And your sprog.
Well, you know what? Like in every movie, or I say in every movie, in majority of movies, whether it's comedy, action, sci-fi, whatnot, I find there's always that kind of like point of morale where like they're trying to teach you like something an important life point. And on this one, I thought, for me personally, you might think different. I thought it was the scene where Lavelle is in the room talking to Mirembe, the hairdresser, and then he's basically saying that he can't do this anymore. He's struggling to like become what his dad wants him to become and all that kind of stuff. And she says to him, "Don't stop trying to be that person. Just be your own person. Just be you." You know what I'm saying? And I think that was a nice touch in there as well, because especially for young black men, and again, I don't want to get too overly into this, but especially for young black men, I think there's that whole thing of trying to live up to expectations. You know what I'm saying? We really have obviously all the cultural biases that's around in society and stuff like that. But trying to live up to expectations, being what other people say that you should be and stuff like that. And really, I think the point that she made, definitely, forget about all that other stuff and just try to be who you want to be, kind of thing. And like we saw that once he decided he was going to be himself, how everything kind of flipped. He was able to learn key things. He was able to relate better to everybody else. In fact, Prince Akeem started copying his walk. Saying learning how to bowl with a stick, because now his son's teaching him little things. And I thought, that's a nice touch in there as well, to kind of like bring that kind of point of morals into the movie. So I thought that was good. But again, going on to the other topic, what is your feeling about the whole love circle with him and Movembe, and I'm guessing like everybody else, you probably saw it coming from the beginning once they started chatting.
No, I think that the good thing about it was that he didn't go for the obvious choice. And I think the obvious choice was Teyana Taylor, who was there supposed to be with him and who came in looking hot. And he looked at her and he liked what he saw. And then he was like,
and back in his dad and all that, Yeah,
do you know what I mean? And I think she was the obvious choice because of her looks. So I think the fact that he didn't go with the obvious choice, but the one with ambition, the one with brains, the one with her own thoughts, her own mind, I thought was a good look.
Yeah. You know what, as we're saying that, you know, one point of a comedy which I really liked and I thought was quite funny was it's 30 years later and, you know, General Izzy's sister is still there hopping around and barking.
She's still hopping around, and the daughter says, "Whatever you like."
Yeah, she was exactly like her mum. Yeah, exactly like the sister. Yeah. And I thought that was crazy.
That was jokes. It was jokes that is how they're trained to think.
Yeah.
They're trained to think that whatever you are going to be matched with the future king. So you just go along with whatever he says. So they're not even taught to have their own minds. So if he likes what film do you like? Whatever film you like.
Yeah.
So I feel like it was good that he didn't go with the obvious choice.
Do you know what? Yeah, it would have been interesting. You know, okay, you know, we could always like, you know, think what it would be like if we was to change up. I'm thinking if we was to take a black woman from South London and put her in that role, and then she was told to hop on one foot and stuff like that, she might, you know, decide she's going to flip and like, you know, throw something down at
hop on what?
Yeah, you better hop off. But and you know, and the thing is, when the girl said to her to stand here, an hour later she was still standing in the same spot.
She's just like her auntie.
Yeah, everybody's dancing, eating, and she's just standing
moving on, and that is like an opening, isn't it? If there's a part 3, you left my daughter standing there for 30 years. She's still standing
there for 30 years. But you know what? It wasn't just that relationship that really developed in terms of Lavelle and Mirembe, but also we saw, especially more towards the end, how the relationships developed between Semi and Uncle Veen, because they were kind of like battling in the film, but then like they had a drink together towards the end. And even the Queen and Lavelle's mum, do you know what I'm saying? They had drinks and got drunk together.
They had like, it's like the Queen missed her past. It's like, I've been in this country for 30 years and I haven't had a laugh and a drink like this in how long? So it's like that woman came just to remind her, listen, this is how we do it back where we from. This is how we do it back in our area. And she just had fun.
And you know, the thing is, like, when you watch the film, it's good because you kind of see the transition. Because at the very beginning, where like she arrives, the Queen, you can almost feel like the Queen has taken on the persona of the Queen, where she's forgotten what she came from.
Exactly.
And she's got that persona of being the Queen. It wasn't until she had a few drinks and then she was able to remember the old songs, the dances, and all that kind of stuff. Even to the point that she dropped that line on Eddie in the bedroom. I can't remember how it goes. That one where they say what? And then Eddie Murphy said it. I thought that was good to see her kind of like let loose. I thought it was an interesting little touch there to really kind of you know, show how she was able to
of her old home.
Yeah, definitely. She needed that drink clearly. I'm interested to know it was a glass of Jack Daniels or maybe a bit of Chairman's or whatever else it was that she was drinking. But whatever it was, it helped.
It was Ciroc.
So you know what? As we come to the end of this one, I think the key question I want to ask you was it worth it them touching the movie again, or do you think they should have just left it as it was?
I think it was a good thing to touch it again, because 30 years ago it was us who enjoyed the old one, but now it's my kids. And my kids have watched the old and they watched the new and they enjoy them both.
And maybe in 30 years they can show their kids the next one.
Exactly. And I think there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm inclined to agree with you there. I mean, I had my doubts at the beginning, but I think they did a nice touch there, and definitely, like I said, especially for my favorite scene where they brought in the singers and all that kind of stuff. I thought, you know what?
I liked that. Yeah.
I thought it was worth watching, even if it was just to see that part for me. So that was definitely interesting. I mean, guys, what do you think? On it, definitely drop me some notes on Instagram. Go to the podcast page on Instagram at Black Ones Pod, and let me know your thoughts. Did you think that the movie was worth touching again? Did you enjoy it? Was there any other stuff that you saw in there that you really liked to see? Definitely let me know what your thoughts are on that. And that's it for this podcast anyway, guys. Remember to hit that follow or subscribe buttons on iTunes and Spotify to get the notifications about new episodes and new drops. And don't forget to follow as well, like I said, on Instagram and YouTube. Just search Black Ones Podcast or at Black Ones Pods for all the latest. So this has been DJ Marx alongside Karlene. We're signing out. See you in the next episode.